Hello, hello, happy Friday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this another session, for this another Lunch and Learn. It is, wow, February already. It's the second day of February, and we're thankful to be here each Friday at this time to just talk with you as you lunch, you can learn. And with me today is my co host, Dr. Sigfred Howell. Dr. Howell is a master life coach and he is a relationship coach and consultant, and he specializes in every aspect of relationship, whether in marriages, uh, home, church, school, workplace, whatever the relationship is that you need to keep together. This is the person to speak with. And I am your truly Dr. Janice Brooks. I'm a leadership consultant. I'm also a licensed counselor and a part of the Maxwell team of coaches, speakers, and trainers. We are here each Friday to lunch and learn with you. And today we are talking about, wow, finding purpose in your work in 2024. Finding purpose in your work in 2024. And when we talk about finding purpose in work, this can be a challenging topic to speak about because there are many persons who are unfulfilled in their work. They believe that they can't find purpose in the work that they are doing at this point in time. So, we are here to share with you that you can actually find purpose in your work, because finding purpose in your work is having that knowledge and understanding that you are where you are supposed to be at this point in time. It is where you can find direction, and that real sense of direction that will allow you to feel fulfilled in your work. So let's get on with this topic today. Dr. Howell, I want you to share your own aspect of when we talk about finding purpose in work. What do you think this really entails?
Well, you know what? When I was a youth, growing up in the Caribbean and in Barbados, and in England, one of the things my father used to tell me was, "Hey, are you going to give back to the church? You know, the church paid for you to go to school, paid for you to get a college degree. Are you going to give back?" And I always said I would not work for the organization because they have too many restrictions, and I can't be a teacher. I don't have the personality for it and everything. And would you know, as life would have it, I've been an educator in that organization for over, several decades. And I've been an educator for over 3 decades now. And so you have to be careful as to what you say you will and will not do, because life has a way of making sure you fall into alignment with things that you're supposed to do. As in the story of Jonah, Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh, but his purpose was to go and give a message to the people of Nineveh. And as much as he tried to fight it, he still found his way back there. And so, what I do believe is that you cannot fight purpose effectively. You can fight it, but you're not going to win. You're not going to have the happiness. You're not going to have the fulfillment. You're not going to have the energy and the zeal. And a lot of people in the Caribbean always want their kids to be doctors, lawyers, engineers because of the money aspect. And I say to you, there are a lot of miserable people with money because they are in careers that are misaligned to their purpose. So they have the money, but they don't have that happiness and that drive to keep them feeling a certain way. And so that, you have to make sure that you find your purpose and make sure that your purpose is aligned with your personality and not aligned to money making projects, money making schemes, and ways to profit yourself and not help others.
Wow, that is excellent. You have to make sure that your work is aligned to your purpose and not just to money. Dr. Howell, that's significant. And when we think about this topic, it comes to my mind also That work is so important because that's where creation started. God created, it means that he did some work. And we remember that he did work day after day. The Bible says that on the first day he created that, on the second day he created that. And so work is so very important, outside of just thinking about the money. Um, when we feel fulfilled at work, when we know that we are making a contribution to the workplace, when we know that when we leave work on a daily basis, we feel like we have done something, that is where we find true purpose. True purpose is not in the amount of money that you get. True purpose is not in the type of job that you have, even though you also have to make sure that the work is aligned to your values, to your beliefs, to your morals. And so that will even give you greater purpose. So, Dr. Howell, can an individual, now that we have talked that, go a little bit deeper? Can an individual really find purpose in their work, and how do they do that?
I will say that yes, it is possible to find purpose in your work, but you have to align the three P's: your personalities, your passion, and your purpose. So your purpose is that drive, that burning fire that pushes you towards finding something that gives you satisfaction. Your passion is some area of life in which you have some type of energy and zeal to master, to do, and to just become the best that you can be at. And but then your personality is a big part of it. A lot of times we find jobs that aren't suited to our personality. If you look at customer service, regardless of what business you're in, the person that's at the front desk that meets everyone is the most important person. You don't want that person, the greeter at a hotel, to be miserable, to be ornery, to be upset, to be melancholy. You need that person to be energetic. You need that person to be a people person. And the same thing at a greeter at church. You don't want someone who's always looking for turmoil or in turmoil to be your greeter at the church. And the same thing for any business that you go to. That person who picks up the phone, the person who's greeting customers, needs to be an energetic person. So your jobs that you're looking for have to align with your person, with your personality, your passion, and the God-given purpose. I'll go even further and to say that if you find a job that aligns with those three P's, you never work a day in your life,
Wow.
because it is a finely tuned engine that just keeps going and going and going, and you don't see it as a job. You see it as an opportunity to do what you were born to do. So, but having a purpose drives you for deeper motivation and resilience. You start to see the meaning in what you're doing, and you start to see the long picture versus the immediate gain. If you look at companies in America versus companies in Asia, you will see that the purpose of a lot of these companies, especially Chinese companies, it's in the long game. They're looking for money 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. A lot of American companies, they don't mind making money 2, 3, 4 years, closing down, coming back out on their brand new name. It's the same company, but a brand new name, and suckering people into giving them money again for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And so your purpose, to me, drives you towards better efficiency versus driving you towards that almighty dollar.
Wow. Wow. Dr. Howell, you're always dropping some gems when you come to these sessions. And you're just driving it away. But when you were speaking, it reminds me of a survey that I came upon when I was reading on this topic. And I believe it was McKinsey that did this survey, because they said over about 85% of people feel that they have a purpose at work. And out of that 85%, 65% of them believe they can actually articulate that purpose at work, which they thought was really interesting. But when I think about it, this is where the rubber actually meets the road, because based on the explanation that we have done and gone through to the first question, we cannot find purpose, Dr. Howell, if
Mhm.
we are not grateful. There is no purpose without gratitude. And many persons go to work and all they do throughout the day is complain. They complain about every factor of what they have to do. And if you're constantly complaining, that immediately blocks your eyes. You can't see the purpose for which you are in that place for this time. And it brings me back to a very powerful scripture that says in First Thessalonians 4 and verse 8, it says, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you." This is therefore saying that this is where you are supposed to be at this point in time. It is the will of God concerning you. So give thanks right here where you are, because if you fail to do that, then you may stay in this season. And some time ago, we talked about staying in seasons longer than we're supposed to. You may stay at this place longer than you're supposed to and not grow. And purpose is found, let me reiterate that purpose is found outside of complaining. Purpose is found outside of where you are expecting perfection, because there is not going to be perfection, but you can find purpose outside of seeking to find perfection. And that is what I wanted to add right there. And so we move on, Dr. Howell, because as we go through these questions, we are really seeing where, yes, you can find purpose in work. How does finding purpose, though, makes a difference in the life of someone? What does it do for you when you find purpose?
Well, when you find your purpose, you can focus on developing people and the values versus developing money or developing profit. That's the first thing.
Mm,
And so
wow.
it's not money driven, it's people driven. And a people driven company is a company where the leaders would put training above the bottom line. They will put resources above the bottom line. They will put a community feeling and warmness above the bottom line. You feel like you're part of something bigger versus your number, versus the fact that you can be replaced. Nobody wants to be in a job where people say, hey, you do this or we will replace you or find somebody else. There is a law called Price's Law. And the Price's Law states that 50% of the money earned by an organization is done by the square root of the total number of people doing that job. So let's say you have an insurance company with 100 insurance agents. 10, 10 people, which is a square root of 100, 10 people will make 50% of the money for that department. And I beg to wonder, what's the difference between the mentality of those 10 people in comparison to the 90 people that make up the other 50%? Imagine 10% makes what the other 90% make. Do they have the passion? Do they have the purpose? Do they have a drive beyond everyone else? What is in the mindset of that square root number of people that makes them equal out 50% of what the total others do? And a lot of times I've been in situations, I've been in jobs where people say, hey, slow down.
Mm.
You're making us look bad. No,
Yes,
you making me
right.
feel bad because I'm outworking myself, because I have an internal drive that makes me want to do a certain thing. And you're pulling me down, you're pulling me back. There's another law that says you will start to be influenced by the people that are 25 feet or less around you. So if the people around you are more motivated than you and they're less than 25 feet away from you, you will start to improve your performance. However, if the people around you are lazy, you will find yourself being more lazy. So they say birds of a feather flock together. And it may not because of something that you chose. It may be because of your environment, not just friendships. It could be where you are. And so you have to make sure that you align yourself with those three P's: your personality, your purpose, and your passion. Because you can find yourself stuck in situations where you don't feel like pushing yourself. You don't feel like being motivated to be the best that you can be. You don't feel, suppose the first responder, suppose the 911 operator did not feel like doing their job. How many people would die? How many people will burn? How many people will not get the help they needed simply because that the attitude of that person that day was not up to where it needs to be? And so you need to make sure now that what you were born to do is what you're seeking out, because then you can better yourself. If you look at the story of the Bible, where the people had the 5 talents and the 2 talents and the 1 talent, because the person with the 5 talents multiplied their talents. I mean, because they were so good at managing their talents, they were given double. And so when you are operating with your 3 Ps, I believe that you will double your skill set. You will double your ability because you are operating in alignment with what you were born to do. So what are some of the ways you can do to find your purpose? Find where you can help people. Find where you can add value. Find where your strengths can be used better. Don't necessarily work to get paid. You work because it is in alignment. You do extra. And there are a couple of laws. There's a law called the law of value that says you will be compensated in life based on the value that you give others. And so eventually, if you do more than is expected of you, you will start to gain the attention of the people who make the decisions in that company. And eventually you will find yourself moving up, getting more responsibility because of your attitude and because of your willingness to do what is in alignment with your purpose.
Once again, some excellent points Dr. Howell just shared a minute ago. How does finding purpose makes a difference in your life? And I hear so many things coming out of what you're saying, and I'm just summarizing just a little bit of it, because I do believe that many persons set out to say, I'm going to work and I need to find purpose in my work, but they have no idea of what is important to them, what their goal is, what their mission is, what their vision is. Or let's say, what's your life dream? What is it that you want to achieve? So they go out there with an open plate without nothing on it. For example, if you want to find work, if you want to find purpose in your work, you have to think about what is it, as Dr. Howell said, what is it that I'm here to do? How am I helping others? And in turn, how will this help me and give me fulfillment? And every morning, every day you go out, you have to think about, what difference can I make in somebody's life today? Or what can I do to make myself feel more fulfilled today? Because you're setting out to find purpose in your work. And if you don't do this, set a goal, and all of these things, have the right strategies that can take you there, then you find that you're at work every single day and there is no form of fulfillment. And what happens? This is where the complaining comes in. This is where the blame game comes in. This is where you start to look at other people and you're thinking that they are the ones that are causing me not to be fulfilled, because they're saying this about me, they're doing that. But when we start to turn the searchlight on ourselves, we are able to now start cultivating that purpose that we have set out to get. So Dr. Marcia is not here with us today. I'm so sorry. And we miss Dr. Marcia, but she's not here with us today. But we are going to continue, Dr. Howell, by looking at another question. And the other question I want to look at today as we come down is, every day people are changing jobs. And they're saying, because I'm not fulfilled, I can't find purpose here. What are some real strategies that you would give to people to find purpose and stay fulfilled in their work that they're doing right now?
The first strategy that I believe people should use is being authentic to themselves. If you look at Daniel and the three Hebrew boys, they were slaves, prisoners, but they actually stood out from everyone else because they decided they were going to be themselves, even down to what they ate, to the point that the guys in charge of them said, hold up, I don't know if I can not feed you, because I can lose my job, lose my head if you don't look healthy. And so they say, look, give us 10 days and let us just eat fruits, vegetables, and drink water and see how we look, see how we perform. And then based on that, then you can make a decision as to what you will let us do from there. And these were teenagers. These were young boys. And so they purpose in their heart that they will be authentic to what they believe. So number one to me is to be authentic to yourself. Number two, know your strengths and you use them. Because they stood head and shoulders above everyone else, they were chosen to be leaders in that community. They were given an opportunity to learn. Even as slaves, they were given the opportunity to learn and to assimilate into that culture. And so you have to stand out. That's requirement number two. You have to stand out. You have to know what your strengths and your skills and your resources are and use them to the maximum potential that you have possible. And the third thing you have to do is to be consistent. You can't be on your game this week, off your game next week, on next. People need to see that you are consistent, see that you're trustworthy, see that you are a person who sticks to things even when times become difficult. And then number four, you need to make sure you're willing to learn and add new resources and integrate what you can into society. School is not made for us to be good collaborators. You know, in high school, you want to know who has the highest marks, who has the most O levels, or who got the highest SATs, and who's ranked number one, number two, number three in the class, and then when you get a job, now you got to put me in a group, and now I got to share what I have with everyone else. And the last 18 years has been nothing but dog eat dog, you know. And so how do you collaborate when you've been taught all this time to hoard your information, to be the best and not help other people, even when you see people struggling, because you want to be the first, you want to be the best. So you have to be able to communicate, you have to be able to collaborate, you have to be a critical thinker, you have to make sure that you're well-rounded and you're willing to share with a community to get a goal done, because very few jobs you get to do by yourself. That saying, no man is an island, goes very true. Nobody who's been successful got there without the help of someone else.
Wow.
Even if you're a multimillionaire, you got money from people buying into your concept. Now, one of the things that you can do to make sure that you can make a difference in your life, Tony Robbins calls it the rocking chair test. You are old, you are 85, 90 years old. You're sitting back on your rocking chair looking out into the horizon, and you're thinking about all the things that you've accomplished. What are those things that you want to accomplish? And what will make your life feel fulfilled? And you do it spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You go around that wheel of all of those different things, you know, and see, how do I want to be remembered? Now, I like to look at it. I like to go to funerals, because funerals remind us that at some point in time, it's going to be your turn. You know, and so like my father now, he's 89, and because he's a minister. He's buried a lot of his friends, and he's officiated a lot of those funerals. And he said to me, you know what? This reminds me that my time is coming. And
Mm.
so he's steadily trying to do things to make sure that when his time comes, people can say what he has done to change the world and to change their lives. There's a saying that goes like this: people die three times.
Mm.
The day you officially die, the day that you're buried and everyone puts you to rest, and then the last day that your name is uttered. So you have people like Daniel being dead for thousands of years. We're still talking about Daniel. Martin Luther King's been dead for decades, and we're still doing his name. You have Shakespeare, you have Beethoven, you have all these people that have been dead for all these years, but because of their contributions, we are still saying their name. So they have been dead for two ways, but the third death has been prolonged because of the impact they've made on the world. And I would go as far as to say that when you align those three P's
Mm.
in your life, your third death can be prolonged. That means your name, your legacy, and what you stood for can last a longer time, because parents, grandparents, and all those grandchildren can all know your name. There's a movie coming out, and you can attest to this. Bob Marley's grandson, I believe, is playing his father because of what Bob Marley stood for.
Done. Yes.
And so now he spoke about injustice. He spoke about coming together, unity, and all of that. And so his name is continuing, and they're making movies, and his grandson gets to play
Mhm.
the father. I mean, his grandfather. That to
Mhm.
me is a life that was purposeful, a life that had meaning, a life that made a difference. And do you know, I've watched the documentary, and they say that Bob Marley's songs made more of an impact in Africa than it did in Jamaica?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, you know, what
Yes.
can you do to make sure that you live a life full of purpose? You take
Yes.
all the skills that you have and you put it
Mm.
into adding value into people, into the world, so that your legacy will last a long time.
Wow, Dr. Howell, you have covered the gamut of work. You have talked about work in the workplace, and you have talked about working individually and for yourself. Because when you mentioned Bob Marley worked all his life building his music and his different practices that he had. And now his son and grandson and whoever they are have a legacy to show for what he did all
Mhm.
his life. And so let me just pause to say that if you are in the workplace, you don't own your own business, you're not working on your own individual businesses or plans or purpose yet. You want to look at the organization's goals and you want to think, how does these goals align with mine? Because we're talking about finding purpose at work, and you want to see how those goals align with your own goals, and you want to also look at how the company defines success. What are the ingredients of success for that company? And then you want to think about how those does these line up with my own life purpose, my own fulfillment, and my own way of defining success. And then you want to think about what is like the different missions that the company have, and how does these connect with my own mission and my own purpose. And how does different changes at my workplace connect or disconnect with the different changes in my life? For example, your work could change that there is compulsory work from 6 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. in the evening, but you are someone who has young children, you have a husband, you have a family. How does this align with your own personal goals, vision, values, and your own success in life? And if you see that they don't align, then you have to try to find ways to either come into alignment or to disconnect from it, because doing that, you are not going to find purpose. If something doesn't intersect, then you are going to forever be complaining and angry and feel unfulfilled and all of that. So these are some critical points when you're working in for an organization or you're not doing your own business. You want to make sure that these things align. So, and when they align, you know that you are at the right place at the right time and for a time. As a matter of fact, we want you to understand that work was made to be good. When God made the world, every day at the end of the day, he looked back and say, this is good. He saw that it was good. So work is meant to be a good thing. Work was not meant for as a place for you to go and feel angry and unsatisfied and praying for the day to finish so that I can get out of here, because that is what many people are facing. They are just going because Dr. Ho will talk about the mighty dollar, but they are just waiting. 5 o'clock, come, let me get out of here. 4 o'clock, come, let me just get myself out of here. So you have to make sure that you find this kind of alignment, your work and your purpose, and your purpose, which drives your passion, or your passion drives your purpose, which can be one or the other. You have to make sure that you are seeing that intersection, and that will help you to stay in your work and to find purpose. Dr. Howell, we're almost coming down out of time. I want to make sure we respect time. So I'm going to go on to the very last question. We talked about we talked about the strategies that we can use to make sure that we find purpose. But somebody is still saying, Dr. Howell, what should I do if I'm not able to find this purpose? What should I do? Do you expect me to sit here all year if everything that you're saying is not happening? What should I do?
There is a saying out there that says a lot of people die at age 21, but they continue to work until they're finally buried. And that is a very sad representation of how a lot of people feel at the workplace. When you feel dead on the inside, when you feel stressed to get up every morning to go to work. There are people who get up and throw up every morning before they go to work because of the amount of stress that they're going to encounter. There are people who get up and they feel back pain and they feel sick because of the amount of stress they're going to encounter as they go to work. And so if you do a personality test, a lot of those personality tests, they also give you some of the jobs that align with your personality. Now, you still have to make sure that you find a particular organization that aligns with your values and your belief system. But so, for example, a cigarette company might have something that might align with your passion, but doesn't align with your values if you're a non-smoker. If you work at a drug company and you believe in natural remedies, that may not align with your value system, even though it may not be something that's morally wrong. It is something that is misaligned. If you work with an insurance company and you don't like the way that they force you to deny certain claims, even when you know that those individuals should get some type of monetary compensation, then that is a different situation. So as you alluded to earlier, sometimes you have to walk away. But the fix can be as simple as finding another department that aligns better with your personality, aligns better with your vision, aligns better with your skill set. Sometimes it might mean that you have to learn more, increase your skills. Sometimes you have to take a step backwards so that you can regain the peace and the harmony and the mindset that you need in order to move forward. As Dr. Brooks also says, sometimes you have young kids and The money is needed, but you do not have the time. Sometimes you have to take a sacrifice and cut corners until those kids get a little older and you can move forward. And so you have to look to see creative ways that you can align what you believe with your passion and with your purpose. Sometimes it might mean joining an organization outside of your work so that you can fulfill your needs. Because yes, you do need the money, but you also need to fulfill those passions and those drives. And so it could mean donating your time versus donating your skills, outside of work. And to get that happiness that you want out of life. And you have to do whatever is necessary. Look within your current organization to see if there's any wiggle room, to see if there's any other places that can fit your skill set and fit your purpose. If not, step backwards or step away, as you said, and find something that better aligns. But if you are dead or dying on the inside, staying at that particular job is not what you were meant to do, because God does not want us to live in disharmony. God does not want us to live in a way that is not aligned with our purpose. However, you have to first check yourself to make sure that your mindset is correct, because sometimes you may not like your job because your mindset is wrong. And I think that that is the biggest thing that a lot of people overlook. If you're chasing after the money, then you might feel like you're not getting enough, and your mindset might make you feel miserable, even though that might be in alliance with your purpose. So you have to first check to make sure your mindset and your reasons for doing things are in alignment with your purpose in life, because God's purpose and our purpose must align in order for you to get the happiness that you need.
Wow. Dr. Howell, I could say amen and finish right there. Because you have brought out so many critical points. And so I'm going to say that if you are struggling to find purpose at work, I want you to think about what your strengths and your abilities are. Not even look at your weaknesses, look at your strengths and your abilities, because these will help you to become more self-aware and to be able to accomplish more things in your life. Dr. Howell talked about look at another department that is so critical. Think about what you love to do. Maybe in the area that you are at, it's not something that you love to do. Maybe you can find yourself in another department where you're in accounting, but you love human resources. You are in customers facing, but you would rather be in the back office because that's what you love to do. Think about and look at what you love to do. We're talking about finding purpose in your work. What is your passion? What are you really passionate about? And also listen to what others are saying about you, because that can help you to drill down to what your purpose really is. If someone is always coming to you for counsel, for good advice, maybe you need to do counseling. Maybe you need to be a coach. Maybe you need to be a mentor. If somebody's always saying, boy, she's unapproachable, maybe you need to look at that. Maybe that's why you're not able to find the purpose. So it requires a deeper look at so many things in your life. Then also think about, what is my dream career? And is there any room for that dream career in this company that I'm with now? And if it is not, then that's what we say. Think, think, think. And finally, I'm going to say, surround yourself with the right people. The people who can see through you. Are you living your authentic self, or are you living that self that just shows to the world, but behind that you are something different? You can find a coach, you can find a mentor, you can find someone in your corner who will help you to grow and find that and cultivate that joy, find that fulfillment in your work so that you can unearth that purpose that is there for you. And the final thing I'm going to say, Dr. Howell, there is a thing that I usually say is that there are some persons who find or realize their purpose too late to live it. And there are some persons who realize it too early to believe it. And so and so they are caught in the middle of nowhere. But purpose can be found at work or in the work that you do, so long as you try to become more self-aware. Then you will find that it was right there in front of my eyes. So my prayer this year is, Lord, open my eyes so that I can see the things that were right before my eyes. And finally, Dr. Howell, St. Paul says, having done all, when you have done everything and you realize it's just not working here, you just now have to stand in who you are. And standing in who you are may mean that you have to step away from that thing that you call work. But you have to make sure that you're not running from yourself. Because if you run from yourself, wherever you run to, yourself is going to be there with you. But having done all, then do what you can. Dr. Howell, your final words.
My final words is this: do whatever comes natural to you. God gives us certain drives, and those drives help us to find our purpose. We have to be willing to listen to others. Your parents know one side of you, and they can tell you, hey, you've always been good at this. But your friends also know a side of you, and they can say, hey, you've been good at this. Your co-workers know a side of you, and they can say, hey, you are good at this. You know a part of yourself, and you can say, hey, I'm good at this. But a lot of us sell ourselves short. So you have to make sure you surround yourself, like Dr. Janice said, with a lot of high quality people. But when all is said and done, you combine all of those factors with God. You seek the Creator, because He was the one that purposed for us to be born. So He knows what we are best made to achieve in this world. And so after you've combined all of the views of all of those people, then you go to God and say, God, please help me and guide me to make the right decision. And you move forward in faith, because the Bible says the faith of the mustard seed, the size of a mustard seed, can move mountains. Now, people call that manifestation in today's day and age. So you can manifest things if you believe it, or if you have faith in it, and then you put it into action. You will achieve it, unless it's against God's will.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Howell. We want to thank you so much, audience, and everyone who will watch this after the live, for joining us today for another Lunch and Learn, where we talked about finding purpose in your work. Whether you are in an organization, whether you are at the back of your home doing your own work, whether you are in your nice office, wherever you are, we hope that you will find purpose in the work that you do, because God needs us to find purpose in whatever we do. He doesn't want us to just be going on like leaves flipping around the place when the wind blows. He wants us to be steady and firm and be able to be fulfilled and be able to also pass that on to others that we come in contact with. I want to thank you so much again for joining us. Please, our other co-host, Dr. Marcia, was not able to join us today, but we have her in our spirit right here. I am Dr. Janice Brooks, and Dr. Siegfried Howell saying, walk good and find your purpose and live it. God bless you.